From the Varkey Foundation, it's Old School, the skills that made us and how they're changing. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. I'm your host Nicholas Piershaw, and today we're looking at the hard skills that power innovation and inspiration. My guest today is an automotive systems teacher from Rome whose passion for design has inspired his students to invent practical solutions to everyday problems. Now, that includes everything from building robots to pick up trash to inventing safer motorcycle helmets. Today, he teaches at Enrico Fermi Industrial Technical Institute in Rome, and his work has also been recognized internationally with several Best Teacher Awards and a Top Teacher Lifetime Achievement Award. I am delighted to introduce Leonardo Durante. Leonardo, you are known for teaching students to come up with creative solutions to practical problems. How do you and your students come up with these ideas? How do you approach the design phase?
The process of creation arises precisely from the problems, from the needs that we have every day. As you know, I'm a motorcyclist myself, and I think safety is important. In this way, we made the helmet many years ago for increase the safety. Also, the shopping cart. We made the shopping cart because we always saw the people that are struggling to carry their daily shopping. When we start a problem, we always start from a brainstorming, see the needs and try to find new solution. I teach robotics. In this way, my project are always very technology. From the idea, slowly, we get closer to the construction of a new prototype. Sometimes it takes us a very long time because it's not always easy to try a low expensive way to make this kind of prototype. And this process is good for us because I always generally divide the task just little piece from everyone. As like a startup, there is a CEO, there is a very managers from production, marketing, communication, human resources, so on. Just like a real company.
So you described it as a company, and we were talking before the recording started about this collaborative process. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Do all of your students have a say in which project gets taken up?
The process is not very easy to start because they always want to create something as very very strange. For us, for example, a teletransport, they always very innovative, but it's not always so easy. Try to make new invention.
You are a big believer in learning by doing, in making things with your hands. And I guess one of the things that makes your work so special is that you encourage big ideas and creativity, but you also ensure that your students know what it takes to bring these ideas into the real world. Can you talk about why making things with your hands is such an important process?
I'm a very strong supporter of this method because students learn much more easily than a frontal lesson. When I presented them concrete problems and situation, we start, and after a couple of weeks, they finished everything. For example, I'm also a supporter of hackathon. Hackathon is a very new kind challenger and very creative innovation. Just a couple of weeks, we made an hackathon with other students from Spain, and they were very all creative and innovative. This is my keyword. Yes, innovation. If you leave the students free to create, I'm sure they will study in much more effective than the traditional lessons.
And is it very different to the way that you were taught when you were at school? Was creativity and innovation and doing things with your hands encouraged when you were at school, or is this sort of a new generation of teachers doing it in a slightly different way?
I think that new generation can create the future that we haven't now. And innovation, hackathon, or learning by doing method, I think that is very key. Is the key for try to invent a new future.
And how you talked about the inventions that you and your class have produced over the years, from motorcycle helmets to shopping trolleys, and you talked about apps as well. How has the technology changed over the years? Are you looking more at digital technology now? Is it more about how you operationalize smartphones and other kind of forms of technology? Uh, how are the skills that you need changing as the tech changes?
Technology, as you know, change every day. Change for me, of course, for my methods, and change for my students too. I think that when I say to my student, yes, you can use your mobile phone for study, for research, for your gamification, for your simulation, is a very good way for use the kind of device in a very innovative way. But I think that is not always in this way. The keyword is innovation. Consequently, uh, in my job, I have to innovation too. When I try to explain in my podcast, in my social, how we can use our technology, um, my students always ask to me, teacher, but there is a very lot of information. This is a problem for my student and also for us, for the teachers, because it's not very easy to try to understand this a very huge amount of information. So our devices can help us also for this kind of trouble.
How are you going about preparing your students for the world of work? I mean, I know that many of your students have gone on to pursue work in the sciences, as well as electronics and automations and telecoms. What are the skills that they're learning in your classroom that let them go on to excel in these fields?
The methodology, I will say, the learning by doing, prepares my students a lot for the world of work. When I divided the task, is always as like a company. Uh, as you know, in an industry, there is always human resource that asks to us how we can do for this kind of industry. In this way, I think that learning by doing kind of helps for prepare the students for the real world. Uh, Many prestigious telecommunication research and photonic companies have hired my students. If you study in a different way, uh, using your brain for solve the problems, I said that you can find a very good job.
And it's interesting because you're not just teaching your students about the practical skills, you're also teaching them creativity, innovation, teamwork, those higher order skills, which we find are more and more in demand with employers. Is that something you think is important as well?
When I say to you, I love hackathons. There are challenges that the students are forced to design, build a solution just in a couple of days. They're very stimulating and exciting challenger. In this challenger, you can win money or other prizes, such as high level courses. Hackathons are often reserved for adult college students, and it's like a bit, it's a bit like a real life. You never know what the future holds for you. It's up to you to solve the problem and no one else. That's why my students grow up so well and so fast.
What was it about hackathons that attracted you? Did you discover them as a student yourself? Or was it something that as a teacher you came across and you thought, this is perfect, this will teach my students how to compete internationally?
I discovered hackathon many years ago. Unluckily, I'm not a student, but I'm a teacher. And I think that the hackathon is a very good way for start a new kind of process in your mind, because you are always very few time for create for a project a new solution from the real life. And I think it's a very good method.
And what makes teams succeed in hackathons? Because it's not just the skills, right? It's about how you work together as a team. How do you teach students to succeed in a hackathon? That's a really interesting question I hadn't thought about before.
I'm trying every day to make an hackathon. When I teach at school, I'm trying to uh, I don't know how I can say to you. If we have, for example, a problem, I have to connect my domotic house with Arduino Cloud, for example. So I teach in a very simple way, and I give to my students just a couple of hours for say, okay, this is the problem. You have everything that you want, resources, devices, for try a new kind of solution. This is this is the old solution. Okay, it's work, but you have to try a new kind of solution. This is a very creative way, I suppose.
Is it difficult to get students to think differently about problems? Do they all always want to do the same thing, and you have to encourage them to break the rules? How do you do that?
No, it's not difficult. Uh, the students, the young people, are very creative, and especially in technology. And sometimes propose to me a new kind of solution that I never think to put in that project.
You're a technologist. You love robotics, and in finding, if this is right, technical solutions to practical challenges. There's so much new technology around now. I wanted to get your expert opinion. What do you think is going to make the biggest difference to our lives over the next 5, 10 years? Do you think robotics is going to make a big leap forward? Do you think it's going to be artificial intelligence? I know this is a big question, but since I had you on the show, I had to ask because I'm really fascinated by this.
I'm not a magician. I don't know how that will happen in a few years. I think that, for example, artificial intelligence can help us to solve many kind of problem. When I was young, and somebody make the calculator, a very hot calculator, and my math teacher say, please don't use a calculator. Of course, everybody use calculator, but calculator is not the solution for every problems. In this way, also, for example, artificial intelligence can help us to solve the problems, but not every problems. We have a brain. We are creative. more the artificial intelligence I propose.
That's an interesting point, because the new generation of chatbots can provide us with
I
instantaneous
encourage
information, but
I
also
encourage
ideas.
him to use.
Yeah,
I encourage him to use it.
yeah.
If
So you wouldn't,
if
so you wouldn't, because some teachers say like we should ban them completely in schools, but for you it's part of,
absolutely.
no, no.
Absolutely. If you have a problem, if you have to make a code for solve an app, you can use ChatGPT, of course, but you have to understand wherever you want, wherever you study in that moment. You can copy the code, why not? But do you understand it? If you understand it, okay.
That's an interesting point, because some people look, again, I'm perhaps taking the most absurd part of this argument, but some people are now saying, what's the point of learning to code or learning to come up with new ideas, because I can just ask this artificial intelligence and it will provide me with the code perfectly. Do students now really need to learn to code and to do all of these hard things? Is that still going to be important in the next generation?
Yes, I think that is very important for a new generation. Use this kind of methods. Uh, is not we can't limited uh, the methods for teach. I think that also intelligent artificial can helps us our work. Yeah.
Because it's I think the one thing about AI is that it's easy. It's too easy. And sometimes it seems to me that the point of teaching is to challenge students, that actually you learn by doing, but also by failing and by struggling with issues and ideas. And that failure and struggle can be the greatest teacher of all. And if we can simply ask a chatbot and it comes up with an instantaneous answer, we don't learn anything. So actually, the process of struggling, of coming to grips with an idea and making it work, I wonder, is that for you the whole point, or am I
Yes,
sort of missing something?
but if you write something to ChatGPT, you have to ask in the question and the right question. So it's not very easy use ChatGPT or AI. If you have any problems, if you need some parts of code, you have to write in also in a creative way to solve your problem. So I think that can help. Yeah.
You must look back and think of all the things that you've built with your students. Is there a favorite project that you worked on? You know, from the motorcycle helmet to the robot that picked up trash to the shopping cart for the elderly and disabled people. Was there a particular project that you look back and you think that was my favorite project? No?
The next one.
The next one. That's a very engineering answer. There's always the next. There's always the next one.
The next one, yes. We'll see. This is uh, the when I teach, I don't know where I teach next the next day. So help me to teach in a very happy way. It's not noise. Stay in the class with me. I'm just a little crazy.
But that's nice. Waking up and having a new challenge every day and a new idea. That must be very invigorating. Is that something that you'd recommend to other teachers who might be listening, to think of new
It's not
ideas?
easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy because you have to spend a lot of time of your also when you stay at home for try to create also or new or kind of innovation is not easy. Uh, I sleep very few hours every day, and so I have enough time for create.
One of the great challenges we've had over the last couple of years was, of course, COVID-19. And I think that affected all of education, but I think it particularly affected teachers who worked in vocational education and in teaching technology, because it required, those are subjects that require students to literally come into a workshop and pick things apart. What can you talk a little bit about the impact that it had on you and your students?
uh, COVID-19 was really difficult for us because it can't permit to work in a laboratory. But I'm prepared for this because I use many times software for simulated this kind of process. So it's not the same way, of course, because we can't create for a couple of years. But that time it was really interesting for us because we create many apps and we solve many hackathon online. Also, when my students stay sick, yes, yes, COVID help us.
That's an interesting perspective. So you were able to keep going because you could shift a lot of this work online. And what kind of apps were you producing? Was it stuff particularly to do with the pandemic, to address social problems during the pandemic, or was it more general applications?
No, we made an application for solve a process for locate the column for recharge the cars. We made an hackathon and we won the hackathon.
That's amazing. No, that's you must have been incredibly proud. A particularly difficult moment for you and your students.
They they were happy also in the COVID time because we create every day, and we spent our time in a very happy way. Yeah, also in COVID time. I was alone here, and every day I stay with my students with my laptop every day, every day.
You've used this word again and again in our conversation, and I've spoken to so many experts and teachers in the world of education, and I so rarely hear it. But the word you use is create, and that seems to be so fundamental to the work that you do. That you come in and you create something new that didn't exist before the day started, and that must be it must be a wonderful feeling to walk away at the end of the project thinking, we had this idea, we built it, and now it's gone out into the world and it's changing lives. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that your projects have had on the students and on your community?
The impact is very deep, was really deep, because we show this kind of app of a project in a manifestation or a workshop, and put my students in this kind of workshop, and they were the only students, and the other was a researcher, an adult, a CEO, project manager. They facilitate the grow up of the students. Also, for example, the shopping cart. We won 3 competition also for the spot. We make that we made, and we put on a YouTube channel. And when we show the shopping cart in manifestation, the ladies and the other adults asked to us, please, 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 can I buy it? It's a perfect solution for carrying my shop every day. and also for the helmet for the when we made the helmet. Many people ask to us, "Can I buy it?" But my students don't want to buy, don't want to sell it, because it's like a creature. You don't want to separate it.
But you've given them ownership of an idea and inspiration to create, and that's absolutely wonderful. I'm conscious of your time, and I'm very grateful to you for talking to me today. Leonardo,
Thank you,
thank you so
Nicolas.
much for coming on the show, and I'm looking forward to, as we continue to connect in the next few weeks, hearing more about your work. But Leonardo, thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nicolas, for inviting me. Thank you to everybody for the time that you spent with us. Just one word: please be innovative always.
Be innovative. That's a wonderful sentiment to end the show with. Leonardo, thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave us a great review wherever you've heard it. And please join us next week for another fantastic discussion. Leonardo, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.